Welcome everyone to the Cartoon Pad. Michael.
Bob.
How are you doing?
Midland.
Midland. We have our producer, Marty, my plus one.
Yep.
Thanks, Marty. Good to see you. Michael, we got some fan mail, and listeners were asking why there's been gaps in the episodes. I just want to address that for MO.
This is the reason. I'm sorry.
He's holding up some beverage.
Yeah, rehab didn't go well.
Especially.
I know.
Sometimes, you do a couple in a row and then you take a break. You have to have there's a hiatus. There's small mini seasons.
Yes.
These people have too much of a good thing. You can't give them nonstop new episodes. You need to leave them wanting a little bit more, Bob.
Leave them hungry. Bob.
And it's about quality anyway. Michael, so how was podcast camp?
I didn't make it. I tried, but I didn't get my deposit in on time.
Is that where you go for a week and sit in someone else's dark basement?
We have two guests today.
We do.
We're not going to waste any more time. Michael, get on with this. They're waiting patiently. They're both.
I hear they're members of the Commonwealth, so I'm very excited.
Yep, they're both Australians. They're both based in New York. They're both stand-up comedians. They're both funny. They both appear in the New Yorker.
And why are they here?
They both each have a new book coming out.
A new book. Better than an old book.
Title. And both, dare I say, they're quite sexy. That's why I said it.
You're not a piece of meat, Bob.
Scott Dooley and Jason Chatfield, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. Thank you for tolerating us.
Hello. Oh, we can take a lot. Don't worry.
You have a hardcover copy of the book.
I know. I purchased it myself.
Look at you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And it's lovely. I will say, as the only one, sorry, Bob, as the only one of this group that has actually sired children, as far as I know. Is that correct?
I mean, the word sired might need some editing, but sure.
Yeah, exactly. So I can say that having thumbed through it, this is incredibly spot on and correct concerning all the foibles and tears and joys of parenthood as far as being a father.
Can we use that verbatim as a blurb?
Yeah, that's a blurb.
Can we use
that?
Do you know the funny thing is just before we came on, we're like, let's not talk about the book. Like, and let's not be assholes about this. Let's just,
hold up some physical book.
Speaking of assholes, I think it could have used more shit jokes, but that's new.
Oh, do you know how many are on the editing room floor? There are so many.
Diaper blowouts. Everyone's experienced the diaper blowout. So.
It does seem like with parenting a child, a baby, it's just the majority it's just poop. It's poop for a while.
You must understand that we wrote 250 pages and it was edited down to one. And you can't imagine the amount of pieces of... Listen, let's not get... This is early on in the pod, but the fecal content in this book was deeply and deliberately edited.
So you're telling me the poop was sucked out of this book?
Correct.
We should mention the title.
Full of shit.
Yeah.
But let's mention the title because we're talking about the book and we haven't mentioned it's called You're Not a Real Parent Until. Mm-hmm. And I did make this required reading in my classrooms and scored a visit to the human resources. But this is a perfect gift for a Father's Day.
Well, listen, never let anyone tell you you're not funny, Bob, because... That's hilarious.
Why would you say? Do you have my mom's email?
That's funny you said that, Bob.
I want you to tell her.
Her Substack is letmysongetarealjob.substack.com.
I've been actually discussing this with my therapist about the fact that my mom does not think that I'm one bit funny, and we've been addressing this the last month.
This was the same with my therapist.
Available next Tuesday. I'd like you to sit in on a session.
Well, speaking of which, my wife's never thought I've been funny, and that's sort of like when she says that, I think I'm on to something really good.
That's your myth, is what
yes. When I kill the canary in her coal mine, that's when I know.
Sexy as hell.
Yeah, that means
is that what you call your children?
That means I'm not far from gold, and there's a lot of gas in the you know.
Listen, sweetheart, you're definitely my favorite canary from your mother's gold mine.
You're just saying that.
You need to stop calling your wives. You need to stop calling it coal mine. Listen, I really appreciate that you actually physically have the book, because it's difficult to articulate what it is without showing people what it is. The New Yorker ran an excerpt today of the book.
Saw that. I didn't read it because I already got it.
You didn't need the excerpt because you had
good.
the living room.
Let me ask you guys, when did you guys know that you were funny? Was there a time that you kind of said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do?
Still waiting.
It's an interesting philosophical question. And it's something that I'm always interested asking other funny people about is why do we do this? Like, what is this compulsion? When did it start? Because it is this weird thing where I actually can't remember a time in my life where I didn't want to be a comic. And when I was at school and people were talking about, I'm going to be an accountant, and I'd always think to myself, why would you do that? You can be a comedian. Like, you sound like a crazy person.
Yeah.
I don't know when there was a moment I was funny, but I can't remember a time when not being a comedian existed.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Did you guys have the same thing? Like, was there ever a point where you were like, oh, I'm going to do something else, and then this happened?
Bob, you take it.
You know, for me,
you're out of my depth.
I was going to ask a follow-up to you is like, who validated you to say that you are funny? For me, it was Love Me Daddy, where at the dinner table, you try to make your family laugh.
Yeah.
It was like the toughest audience.
An impossible crowd.
And I had a really good 5 minutes because they never would laugh through my teens. It was a polished 5 minutes because nobody was giving me that validation. And you kept on striving for it. But did you have a similar experience where it starts within your inner circle where you say, you know, I'm trying to get attention. Maybe you're a milk child. You try to do it through humor.
So for me, my father is an incredibly funny guy, and he tells jokes, like jokes, like a guy walks into a bar, street jokes. And I remember being 6 or 7 years old, and at the end of like a lunch or a dinner, I'd always be like, okay, joke time.
Yeah. And
then try to tell my jokes in that thing. So yeah, I guess I didn't realize, Bob, now the psychological
this is therapy. This is therapy.
Yes. Do you remember your
father loved me?
Do you remember your first joke?
Do you remember your first?
My first joke? No, I remember doing shows when I was on 4 or 5 at school.
Yeah,
I'd put on shows. I can't remember what my first joke was. No,
Michael, do you remember?
Well, I never aspired to be a stand-up, so you know.
I remember my first joke.
You aspired to be a shut-in comedian, Shaw.
I aspired to be a smartass. That was it. I mean, my dad wasn't funny. My mom wasn't funny. My sister wasn't funny. And I just was a smartass. So when they said something very serious, I would say something just to piss them off.
Your brother's funny.
But it was funny. I am funny.
Not as funny as Patrick.
Brother?
Yeah, your brother's funny.
Yeah, I have a twin brother. He's famous.
He's listening right now. Is Patrick listening right now?
He has there's an identical twin. Our Shaw is the evil twin.
Yeah.
Irish? Are you Irish, Patrick?
We thought we were Irish. We turned out to be English. So we are of the same Commonwealth. We are a member of the Milky Tea Nation. So, you know.
I was too poor to have a nationality. We afford one.
We do. My brother and Patrick.
So poor. I didn't have a nationality.
Yes. And
that's a good joke. That's a very fun.
I always like to say my brother and I were twins, but he came out of a different opening.
Okay, that's.
And we have
so poor. We had to walk 15 miles to 23andMe to find out we didn't have a nationality.
You guys are a comedy team. How did you guys meet and become a comedy team? Because you've known each other for a long time. This is a this book is a collaboration, but you guys have been collaborating on cartoons for a while, and you both did you both come to New York around the same time, or did you guys meet? You guys met many years earlier in Australia and then worked together in comedy and then blazed the trail to New York City. What was that what was that journey like?
So something Americans don't know is that annually there's a dump truck that backs its way up to Jersey and tips Australians into the Hudson. And then we have to swim for dear life towards Manhattan. Whomever survives, gets to hustle their way, make New York. Scott and I were doing stand-up comedy in Australia.
It's why we win so many gold medals at the Olympics.
Precisely. Yeah, swimming is pretty much the only thing for this very reason. And one of the strange things about Scott and I is we never actually met in Australia. I was based in Perth for a long time doing stand-up. Then I was in Melbourne. Scott was in Sydney. And whenever he was in Melbourne, I wasn't there. It was this never the twain shall meet strange situation. So I'd been coming to New York since 2010, 2011 maybe, for about a month at a time, just doing stand-up and mics and whatever I could get. Eventually, Scott and I moved here around the same time. I think he was in 2013. And so we've been here nearly a decade. He's more of a New Yorker than I am. So we were doing stand-up here. We would sort of cross paths, but never actually meet and hang out. I think eventually Scott fell in love with this amazing woman way out of his league. And we were at the front. We were out the front of a karaoke club, Sing Sing on Avenue A.
Can I tell you a story about this karaoke?
I know Sing Sing. Oh yeah. Can I ask a question very quickly? So, did you get the comedic green card? How do you kind of just show up and
very specific green card?
I mean, if Australia was populated with like prisoners, ne'er-do-wells, and rouseabouts, and then you get sent off Australia to here, what's that say about you?
What does that say about you? What does it say about America?
It says
that a convict nation takes convicts that ain't good enough for a convict.
That means you get to be
graduated to like small arms.
Yeah, did they hand you a gun as you arrived?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
It was an old blunderbuss. It was.
Those are good.
Yeah.
Did you get a Tommy gun? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. You know what it was, and I'm answering in all sincerity now. So
I'll leave.
Don't worry, we could cut this.
Yeah. I think the one, like Scott and I had bumped into each other a bunch of times. He fell in love with his amazing now wife, who lived about a block from where I was living in Alphabet City. And we kept saying, hey, we should grab a beer. We should hang out. We should, talk shop. And it wasn't until I think Christmas when I was cleaning out my studio for the year, and I found a joke that you had sent me on Facebook Messenger, which was the idea. Okay, so I was thinking, I was like, who wrote this one? Because it's funny. It can't have been mine.
Who wrote this?
And it was a picture of a guy, like a death row prisoner. The priest was standing by, ready to walk him down the Green Mile, and the warden was there, ready for him. But his last meal was on this tray, and the guy was taking like an Instagram photo. Everyone's taking Instagram photos of their meals. The guy's taking an Instagram photo of his last meal, and it was such a dark and horrible idea that someone would gram their final death row meal. I thought it's almost like a Simpsons joke, an old Simpsons joke.
Oh, it's a famous BuzzFeed.
There was a book, wasn't there?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was really depressing.
God, there was like Jeffrey Dahmer had he got murdered. Sorry. But, like John Wayne Gacy had like 35 chicken wings. I go, dude, you are going to have such diarrhea.
Jeffrey Dahmer's like last request was like, can I have a gay man? No, Jeffrey. Come on. Don't you have a guy is
44B? Ward 9.
That's a good book idea. Recipe cards.
It's on the menu. Oh, you can't order off menu.
Never stops.
And also, you know how recipes have to have that enormously long story beforehand? It was like, I was on the middle, I was in the middle of nowhere looking for hitchhikers when I stumbled upon this recipe for thumbs.
Yes. And then at the end, they have all the comments like, I didn't have thumbs, but I found a couple of pinkies and I had to have.
with another phalange.
Yeah.
The best thing is the when all of the recipe notes are people substituting things for way more unhealthy.
Yes, I was working on that.
I didn't have shrimp, so I used sugar. What?
Yes.
That's now an institution. Isn't that the most American thing in the world? It's
Yeah.
just
I substituted everything with frosting, just vanilla frosting. Every ingredient is now vanilla frosting, and
then they complain about the recipe not working.
Well, let's absolutely. We have to make a public announcement right now to people listening.
yeah.
Do not make chicken soup without salt. It is impossible to make a good soup without salt. I'm saying this seriously. I know people who think they're going to take the salt out of
thank
soup.
God, Bob, you've added
I
a
got
touch
that out of the way. I could go now.
No. The one thing you can't substitute for is ricotta cheese. If you don't have ricotta, don't even try, because you're going to end up with like.
Are we in an episode of The Sopranos right now?
Yeah.
Unsung hero, ricotta cheese.
It is.
Yeah,
And then
it
there's-
really is.
If you
Then there's-
listen
then
long
there's-
enough,
wait,
you'll
then
learn
there's-
something from Michael.
Wait, then there's the ricotta salata, which is the dried ricotta, which is very difficult to find. And I went through this whole thing of trying to make a recipe with ricotta salata, and I ended up having a discussion about the invasion of the Ukraine as part of my recipe. Actually, where did that? I know it just got that far off.
I have at least one follow-up question, and if I may,
Yes,
what the fuck are you talking about?
I don't know. I'm just filling up some.
Welcome
time.
to my nightmare.
Yes.
The only time I remember, I would use they for some reason I was doing all these low carb diets, and if you do the South Beach diet, which cuts out all the carbs and stuff, they start you have to have like a dessert, and the dessert that they would make you have on this low carb diet is ricotta cheese mixed with like cocoa powder. And you're making kind of like a chocolate mousse, but the whole thing is just ricotta cheese. But you're pouring chocolate powder all over it, and it tastes like chocolate pudding. But it's cheese. So the whole thing is just cheese with Hershey's cocoa.
Yes, and it tastes like Jeffrey Dahmer. So
And then I put in some thumbs, and it was delicious.
Bringing it right
Yes.
back around.
I brought it home, Bob. You're take it.
To really close out the sincerity, because let's close out the sincerity.
Lost.
Is that I sent Scott, I think I sent the original to him. I posted it like an old man. And I sent it to him saying, thank you for this joke. It never got up at the New Yorker.
Didn't the cartoon editor say yikes?
Yeah, the cartoon, I submitted it to Emma Allen, and she literally said the word yikes. I said yikes before.
Well, she responded. That's something. A response is good.
The gadget.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, that's something. And I sent it to him saying, I'm sorry this didn't get up. It got a yikes from me. And then, you know what? There was something about that. He goes, we should grab a beer and hang out and talk shop. We ended up finding this place called the Garret over on, I think it was First Avenue or Avenue A or something.
Yeah.
We just met there every Monday and like threw around ideas for stand-up. But then many of them were like, oh, this might be a good cartoon. And as it happened, the Garret had a New Yorker subscription. And I think we might have been the only people at the Garret, this bar, that read the New Yorker in their sort of shelf of magazine. And we'd look through and go, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's pretty good. How about this? And then eventually Scott would be like, oh, is there something in this? And then he'd pitch an idea. We'd throw it around. And then that's why we had the podcast called Is There Something in This? And then I think eventually what happened was that joke that he pitched with the death row prisoner, I never gave up on it because I thought it was really funny. I sent it to Bill Morrison, who was at the time the editor of Mad Magazine. He was like, this is hilarious. It's so dark, but this is perfect. So he ran it in issue 1 of Mad Magazine. They did the reboot. And then
3 weeks later, the company folded.
Yeah.
But
they take full responsibility.
Killed a magazine. Yeah, you never give up on a joke because
There's 2 jokes I've never given up on, and that's one of them.
but the other one was a banger.
I mean, it was about
Leave it open. Is that the joke?
keep it open. And Bob, have I talked to you about this joke before?
I wasn't listening.
Bob's tea's gone. Bob's tea's gone cold. I'm sorry.
I'll give you.
I'm on fire.
I'll give you the abridged version. The abridged version is I had a joke that I thought was really funny. I was sitting at a bar one night watching a game. I was drinking a beer, and
Yeah, I've heard this before. Never mind.
oh, have you? Okay, so it's weird that Bob hasn't, but he was definitely.
Okay.
So this is the only joke I've ever been like very Forrest Gump about. Like, there's something here. Come on, keep running. So I pitched it, and it got a yes from the cartoon editor. The joke was there was a fat guy at a hot dog stand handing over a credit card.
Why are you laughing?
It's a funny joke.
That's a good joke.
That's a good joke.
Oh yeah, I gotta say it again. I missed.
I like it. That's a great joke.
It's a fat guy at a hot dog stand in Central Park is handing over a credit card saying, "Keep it open." It's
That's a good joke. That is a
Great
it's,
joke.
it's
Kind-hearted, especially in New York where everybody opens a tab and we always forget our credit cards. And
right.
you know what I mean?
I had to cancel my card because I left it.
Imagine going and having paid $25 at one of those stands at Saturday.
Yeah. They closed me out with 30%.
Yeah, they close you out. They always close you out with a big tip. You're like, you show up the next day, you're all hungover. You're like, yeah, I forgot my card. You're out there.
You
You're
find
like,
out
yeah.
a bachelorette party, put like 12 hot dogs on your tab.
Yeah.
I keep on pitching over and over a hot dog cart joke that is, it doesn't have a caption. It just says pumpkin flavored hot dogs and has no chance of selling. I just do it to just be annoying.
It's too seasonal.
You do use that. You use a hot dog. There's a couple of people that use similar setups over and over again that people, what do you guys have? Jason, what's a setup of yours that you and Scott have done over and over again? Because it's
that should
funny.
be put away.
No, not that it.
No. The setup is someone saying, "Susan, truly, I envy no man." That was the.
And that didn't sell?
No, truly, Susan, I envy no man. And we submitted 16 different images with that caption. And each time it was a running joke with the editor going, "Can you fuck off already?"
Wow.
Trying to make Susan happen.
The one that we could never really crack as a concept, though, was the praying mantis.
Oh, God.
Oh,
I think Joe Data really closed the door on it.
yeah. That trope has seen its day. I'm sorry.
There's hell, it's always with eating the mate's head.
Yeah.
Sex, that trope. Yeah.
Yes.
I do see a lot of that.
Danny Shanahan did it.
Everyone's.
I think Danny Shanahan, Joe Data, and recently, I only accepted it for the free dinner, for the free meal.
Yes.
That's a funny one.
That's one of the.
That was the joke.
I think that one
was the joke.
No, I had one. It was two praying mantises talking, and they both had their heads, and they were both females, and they say, and the woman says, "It's been so difficult. I honestly regret eating their father."
Jesus Christ.
Yes.
That's a lot.
That's a mic drop. That's
Yes,
great.
thank you.
I don't think I've ever seen a Bob praying mantis.
I've seen
Because I would never do bugs in a cartoon.
Oh, bugs are the best.
I grew up with bugs where I was like a little kid.
Yeah.
That's my very first joke I ever did. My very first joke was I couldn't even speak. I was 3 years old. My grandmother said, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" And I left the room and came back with a vacuum cleaner. And he said, "Bugs." And that was my first word I ever said.
Oh my, that's very Kafkaesque.
And I was always.
It sounds like a guy that was so poor he doesn't have a nationality.
I grew up in
Housekeeping.
Rochester.
Cleaner and a fucking bug.
You should have said housekeeping.
I really do hate.
Oh,
bugs.
or you wanted to be an orphan man. Come on.
Is there something in this as a joke? Can I pitch this to you?
Here we go.
Yeah.
There's something in this of the praying mantis Maury Povich show.
Oh God, we're back.
And the guy is opening the thing, and I don't know if there's like a headless praying mantis there, and he's saying you are the father, or there's one with a head, and he says you aren't the father.
You aren't the father.
That
is
my dealer's choice.
The one with that. I like that. I like he has a head, and it's you are not the father, and he's like, I knew it,
and he's like, I told you.
knew it.
The one with the head saying, "You don't know me. You don't know me."
It could have been me. It could have been me.
I will say I'm glad we brought this back to parenting.
Sure. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
let's not. So the probably my favorite joke that actually Scott pitched about praying mantises was two praying mantises
Praying
mantis at a bar. One has no head, the other has a head. And he's leaning over to the other one going, so, does she have a sister? That was a pretty good joke. That show, it's a good joke.
I did a cartoon ticks on TikTok, and the host is asking, so I understand you spent the summer on someone's ass. And the New Yorker did run that.
I have an interesting story on never giving up with my current cartoon, which is Father's Day, and there's Operation Father's Day and all these ties.
Great cartoon.
It's okay. But I showed it to my wife. She goes, you finally sold it.
How long had you been selling that cartoon show?
Oh, that cartoon has been around at least 15 years.
What's the joke?
It's these supersonic bombers, and instead of bombs coming out, there's ties coming out.
I saw that on Facebook.
I thought
that was Bob's. I didn't know it was yours.
Oh, God.
Bob, how do you come up with these great ideas?
Listen,
I love that.
I've always been able to do that, is to steal, get really good ideas.
Yeah, it's an homage.
So Michael, what was the banner you said? That's the kicker.
It was like Operation Father's Day. I have another one. It was. I have another one.
That's a banger. That's a great joke.
There's another one where leaves are coming out. It's Operation Endless Autumn. You can have just falling out of these bombers.
I've run a bunch of those. I've run every other one of the bomber jokes. You've thrown at me, and I've run it.
Yes,
because
we do endless hot dogs.
Because that was such a Bush era thing where everything was Operation something.
Yeah. Yes. That was actually the original kind of. It had a kind of a strange love kind of look to it.
Yeah.
But it was these kind of affirmative kind of operations where just shit's happening. So
it was a real Dr. Strangelove time, wasn't it?
Yes.
You're a 1970s soundtrack in the back.
Yeah, 100. Yeah.
Sure. So there you go.
That's a good game. I didn't know. I like that even in this situation, we've all suggested like we can't afford the rights to a Rolling Stones. I know. I was like,
yeah. Just
this is we have a budget.
Bob, you have a situational cartoon that you always change things out, but it's like the same players, and it's the Hollywood executive, right?
Yes.
And it's always a different person it's a different person talking to the Hollywood executive, but it's always someone talking to the Hollywood executive.
It's like Bingo's in the office, and the agent goes, where have I seen you before?
The agent looks like Foster Brooks, if anyone remembers that beloved drunken character. Yeah, that beloved drunken character from Dean Martin.
I put this to rest, though. I don't do those anymore. The last cartoon I did, which sold, was the agent said, listen, Jake, it's over. We're cleaning up Hollywood. Today's my last day.
You retired your entire genre.
Yeah, it's over. But I think that's maybe not pushing the envelope enough. You should always be thinking, how can you go more? You've been to doing something that's totally unexpected. I think doing setups, when I see setups now in the magazine that are maybe just a couple and they're going to say something snarky to each other, domestic subject, doesn't grab me as much as if it opens up with something that's totally unplausible and sends me in a new world where there is something different. Godzilla meeting his agent, saying, there's, whatever it may be, instead of just having, a human being straight up, I think.
But Bob, this is why I know I don't want to speak on behalf of everyone here, but
go on.
This is why most of the cartoonist's favorite artist is Ed Steed.
Yeah.
Because he's doing this insane shit that you can't think of, and it comes out of nowhere. Everyone else that you look at, you're like, that's a really good joke. I reckon I could have eventually landed there. Whereas no one's thinking no one's thinking this explains the penis I saw on the set. Like, Yeah, that's the highest compliment we can pay other cartoonists. Like, and I've seen it with yours, Bob, where I'm like, oh, I wish I thought of that.
Right.
Whereas I look at it and I'm like, I would never think of that in a million years.
Okay, I would just say the thing with Steed is, look, I think he like thumbs through Dostoevsky to come up with his ideas.
100%. Oh yeah,
Because it's a mule being beaten by a vulture with a woman and a babushka, you know, and there's a bonfire and they're on roller skates and it's like Sergio Aragonés. It's a Panama.
Oh,
there are fires. There's, you know what I'm saying.
I know exactly what you're saying.
I mean, you don't want to see 10 cartoons like that.
But his parody of like the editorial cartoon where everything was like ridiculously labeled like the 1990s economy and like it was so perfect.
You know Kelly in The Onion? One of those great, he's like the perfect.
Yes. That's, and the Lampoon had the same era. I mean, where you labeled everything. But I mean,
Ward's coming to the show soon too. Ward's son is Kelly.
Oh, Maud's son is Kelly.
So
I didn't know that.
let me ask you this. So you guys, so I think we all share one thing, and I know that Marty and I, whenever we hang out, we get very esoteric. We talk about jokes. We geeks. We talk about joke structure. We talk about references and magazine cartoons and Mad Mag is our bread and butter, right? We're now at a point, where everyone can find their people. Everyone can find their audience, and there's no common set of references in the way to a common set of fundamental. When you have someone like Steed or like one of my favorites, Asher Perlman, I really like Asher Perlman, writing jokes that you go, fuck, I wouldn't have even thought to go in that, or even start there, let alone end.
Yeah, Asher's jokes are coming from a real, I mean, you can tell that he is a improv comic writer. Like he's coming with so much more imagination, you know, like every cartoon is like, it could be a live action sketch, you know, it could be a performed, written, televised thing.
Absolutely.
Crawling it, you know, like that's so amazing. Those were some good leads.
You are our favorite guest. You have been on the podcast twice.
Yes.
The first time was successful, but this one is going well.
Bob, did you send him the plaque?
Give it time.
Okay, good.
It's still time.
I want to talk more about this book you guys have coming out because it looks so nice.
Quickly talk about the book.
And
we do.
So the book is You're Not a Real Parent Until.
Yes.
And Shaw is a parent. None of us are parents.
Right. I mean,
how is it
remarkable about his take?
How is it that you are so good? Because everyone that I've read, everyone loves this book, and everyone's like, this is so true to life. Yeah. What kind of research did you guys do to get all these great jokes? Was it all Dooley?
Yeah, it was a lot of me. Yeah. So my wife and I, without becoming kind of weird and gross, in the process of trying to start a family.
This is the first she's hearing of it. I'm sorry.
But so I'm a bit of a planner, so I've started asking what I later have found out are incredibly personal questions of my friends who have kids. And I started finding out these themes, and like Jason and I were talking about doing like this series of books beforehand. I was like, parent, that's a thing that we can all relate to. And it was also, we went from being a parent to the dumb shit your parents do. And there's that kind of, that blending. But it was an interesting comedic exercise. And I don't know if you guys have ever done it where you've got to do kind of 200 variations on the same theme.
Right.
And it was really fun because we had a lot of time with it, and we kind of turned the entire book into, there's a very loose narrative arc to the entire thing. And
what I really like about it is it has this very extended timeline, from newborn to all grown up. Yep. But the parents still kind of look pretty good. I mean by the time my kids are all grown up, I look like shit,
Look how hip you are, Shaw. You got
that.
Be honest, he's not looking good.
I'd look better.
I think he's looking pretty hip with that cat.
Dog or a cat in the back.
Yeah, the cat. Yeah, he has a cat behind him who's getting into the sunshine, or she's doing.
Oh, that's
something.
Harry Styles. That's the world's most beautiful. Oh, look, he's all
So,
crazy.
they're gonna ask. I think you look pretty good for parents. I know a lot of parents who look not great. So, and honestly, it was Scott asking a lot of those questions of people. And
I have to say, I'm pleased because my kids turned out better than they started out.
that's
So, because they were just laying there crapping all over the place and crying.
I'm still doing that.
Yeah, I mean, and now they get up, they move, they function.
That's
Yeah, they're good.
it's an option.
This is like it sounds like you're just realizing your children are vertebrates.
Yeah.
You haven't got an axolotl in a tank. That was a human all along.
But as the male, you just kind of do what you do and wander off.
So that's a big piece of what we did in writing the book. Is we very deliberately in the writing process, because we kind of collaborated on the shorthand of like how we wrote New Yorker cartoons. Is that Scott is the writer. He really comes up with the premise of everything, and that's why it's so good. And then I just draw it. But also we do collaborate on like how to actually build upon the idea. And so we had like 250 different pages, and then we whittle it down to 100 so that we weren't repeating the same concepts or ideas. But then there was a piece of it where we're like, are there very specific times in a human life that are so common and so relatable that would make the parents not feel alone in what is inarguably a very challenging piece of what is being a parent? And the fact that you're not a parent just at the beginning, you're a parent your whole life. As soon as you're a parent forever. And, there are so many different stages from, baby. And the writing was, we really dived deep into how that looks. So we built out a cast of characters and different kinds of parents. No, not everyone is.
The guy fought hard again.
I love the guy. I love the guy with the.
really want to be somebody.
Yeah, I love the guy with the green cap. I can't quite.
Mega guy.
I can't figure out.
You relate to the guy with the green cap? Is that...
Yeah, I can't figure out. He looks vaguely Canadian.
He is now. I honestly never put a hint in there. He's Canadian. Did you not?
No, that's
Maple
he
Leaf?
just has that kind of.
What, like woodsy? Is he woodsy?
He's very woodsy. He drives.
He's holding a hockey stick. He's kind of the same-sex couple. So there's two same-sex couples who are parents in the book, and there's a gay couple and a lesbian couple. But he is one of the same-sex couple, and he's more of the like, there's these stereotypes, and we wanted to kind of do everything we could to not play into those, because it's...
And also, we're at the age now where every one of our gay friends is now just a middle-aged guy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter who
They
you
dress like me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you're having sex with.
Yeah.
We are all the same
Yeah.
person.
The fancy sparkle fids on being an alternative.
Yeah.
Being alternative goes. It's just like you're existing. Same thing.
You somehow, but you just get to an age where you have an opinion on Patrick Mahomes. I don't know how it happens.
That's it. And that's why when we were writing it, we were like, let's make this as real as possible and not make it like lowest common denominator, bullshit jokes. Let's make them real jokes.
Speak for yourself.
He wanted it to be a Super Bowl commercial. But I like, you know what? I'm this in the New Yorker. So it was everything in there is in there on purpose, and we added a bunch of visual gags. My hero is obviously Sergio Aragones and Richard Thompson. They were two living and dead favorite comedians, cartoonists, same deal. Anyway, so there was a point where I really wanted to like give the jokes like an extra you look at the image, you look at the joke, you look back at the image, but then there's like Easter eggs. So we talked about, and we didn't need to do this. This is just Scott's sick fucking head. But there's a death in there. There's a divorce. There's a widower and an affair and all this. Because I was raised by a single mother, and there's single parents in there. There's mixed race parents. There's same sex parents. Every kind of parent you have, and then there's like a widower and a widow. And we thought, well, screw it. Why wouldn't we represent every kind of parenting there is? Because it's a really hard thing to do.
And I also think that the meta joke for me is the idea that you can gatekeep being a parent. That you're not a real parent until you actually have a kid is bullshit. Like there is all of that stuff. So that was always the big joke for me,
is that there is no real parent.
No, exactly. I don't think that I was ever quite a real parent. Thank God they had a real mother. So, I didn't have to be. I was Mr. Fun Time
in Central Park. I was left there. But yeah, that's the whole. I mean, I hope it's implicit that that's the entire premise of the joke of the book, is that that's the ultimate joke.
I am very much like, there is a very perverse part of me hoping for two reasons. One, because we've become very rich, where it becomes this enormous thing.
Yeah.
And then people start taking it the wrong way and try to cancel it because it's gatekeeping. There's something that I think I would take a huge perverse pleasure in that. Like there's something about people missing the point of a joke. Yeah. That
Michael might be able to help you with that.
Well, you can't get canceled unless you're popular enough for someone to give a shit. So, at least you've gotten to that point that somebody wants to destroy your life, because most of us,
that's part of the thing.
Most of us won't even get that far,
most of us destroy our own
buy an elephant. Why do you want an elephant? No, I just want enough money to buy an elephant.
Yeah.
No, I think it's a very noble thing you guys are doing. I think it's a really thoughtful book. It's really neat. And I'm tired of books about like cat names or things like that. How about a book about name something?
Cat name books. There's just a dime a dozen of those cat name books.
Exactly. This is good.
Can I just very briefly, and I promise I won't hold out you trying to end this podcast as quickly as possible, but I was in Saratoga Springs, and I think I texted you, Bob. I was in Saratoga Springs. I was in this amazing bookstore that doubled as a town. And I went to the checkout with an armful of Gary Janetti and David Sedaris, and I found that at the counter was a book about cat names by a gentleman by the name of Bob. And I went, wait a second, I know that guy. And I picked up the book, and I said, and I say this with 100% truth, I said, how's this one doing? I said to the woman at the counter, okay, how's this one doing? She goes, I'll be honest with you, everyone picks up that book. She said everyone picks up that book. Okay. And I bought it because I didn't have a copy yet. And I signed it. But honestly, she said it was doing very well. She said everyone picks up that book. It's a silly book, but everyone picks it up.
And ironically, Bob doesn't have a cat either. So there you go.
There you go. So you
or he has a cat with no name.
Michael, you don't have to be a chicken to know what an egg is.
He's got a cat with no name, which was the original Eagles song.
That's right. I rode through the desert with a cat with no name.
A three-legged cat I called Tripod. You know what, Jason? I do want to promote a couple of things you're in the middle of. You have an article coming up in Writer's Digest. And why I mention that, I'm the contributing editor for the magazine, so I'm a regular there, and it's really exciting to have you on board.
In spite of that, I have an article coming out in Writer's Digest.
Yeah, can you just mention the title of your article, because it's all about humor, right?
Yeah, it's about and this is based on personal experience of having been too far buried waterline of following people on Instagram, trying to figure out what the title, I think, is how to turn down the volume on everyone else to find your voice. I didn't write the title, but that's the title, the premise of it, and it's basically just to get the F angry.
Yeah, I mean, I sound like a broken record, but I've learned from you. I've read things that you've done. I want to mention your Substack, which it's entertaining, but it also brings up some good working tips and stuff. And I picked up things that definitely have changed my career from you from years ago, based on your organizing, your managing your time, and getting people to understand like what you do, because you accomplish so much. Because you're also, I mean, I'm sorry, Scott, to Jason's horn here. Just
I don't know, Scott's doing okay.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated. I'm fascinated by this, because there is this inherent tension with social media and art, in my opinion.
Yes.
Where we rely upon it to promote the thing we want to do, but by the same token, it's killing the thing we love.
Yeah, it's the only reason we have social media reactivated is to promote a book that we did.
Well, Scott, what do you mean by you think it's killing it? What exactly? What do you mean as example?
I think it's killing it in as much as we are doing things, and not all of us, but there is, and it's not even art. It's just we live our lives in a way to fulfill, you want to get likes, you want to do this thing. And as a result, we've homogenized what it is to be successful, what it is to be relaxed, what it is, you're not relaxed unless you're on a beach in the Maldives. You're not successful unless you've got a Rolex watch on your wrist and you're sitting in front of a supercar. Like, these are obviously extreme examples, but I get worried that we're homogenizing everything, that you're not successful unless you fit into this social.
Wait, I have what kind of supercar?
Maybe an F1 race car, maybe that,
Maybe a little Alpine.
This could be.
I'm a huge fan of the Alpine.
This could be another book series.
The Alpine.
You're not successful unless you're.
That's a very good.
And we sell every book for $15,000.
Yeah. You're not successful unless you own this gold-plated limited edition of this one book. There's only
Yes, you're not successful unless you buy this book.
This is a fungible token, and there's only one.
Wow.
God, I want to say that I understand now what you. Thank you for explaining, because you're taking a different angle, and that is the angle of staying in your own lane, because you're always judging yourself to how everyone else is doing, and I think. I'm only saying that because I learned that from Gary Shandling. He used to always say that in his book and stuff. Jason, that might have been something I even picked up from you repeating from Gary Shandling, which is
often quoted Gary Shandling.
Yeah, to stay in your own lane, and instead of doing everything based on what other people are doing. But at the same time, unfortunately, we live in a time where it's part of our job description that we do have to get the word out. I know I keep listening to these panels that are going on at these bookstore owners talking about how to become a bestseller. They're talking about how you can become a bestseller and what they've observed. And it keeps changing. The goalposts keep changing how to make it a bestseller. And a lot of it, they're saying now, is still word of mouth. That's still the biggest thing. And it's to understand that the rules before are gone. The way it used to be, you could do a good killing with sales with good reviews. Actually, reviews right now don't mean as much. Good reviews don't mean as much as the exposure or the endorsement from a TikTok influencer or someone who's got a big Instagram, whatever.
Book talk.
And I can see you have a thought. Scott, jump in.
But this goes back to what we were saying before about the compulsion of we're not doing it so people will tell us we're good or that we'll sell all these copies. Yeah. However, we're teaching these kids coming through, this is what you've got to do in order to sell these copies. Yeah. Therefore, we're bastardizing the art. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter what kind of we're talking. Do you know what I mean? Like that.
Yeah.
That's a huge concern for me.
Me too. That's a hard thing to avoid because
it is. No,
it's always been that way. Yeah, and that's, I guess, the division where we go the path, that fork in the road of fine art, or we go commercial, and going commercial is including gag cartooning. Sure. And I don't know where you two would say stand-up is. Where does stand-up become? Is Spalding gray? Or does it become something where you're trying to do with, without mentioning names, people who do stand up that they know is very marketable and they're placating to the audience?
We just had this discussion over beers like an hour ago about Nate Bargatze. Nate Bargatze, if anyone listening doesn't know him yet, maybe they do, he is the patient zero of how to do it right, I feel personally.
Yeah, he's great.
Because he's an auteur, not an artist. He's an obsessive. He loves what he does and why he does it. He does enough people know about him that he can go on Fallon. He's done more Fallon, sell out a tour in an hour. In 30 cities. But it's about the work itself. It's
But not to cut you off. Like, he does it for the right reason.
Oh, no,
It's like, but who are we to say what is the right reason? Like, you know, there's greater. Yeah,
right reason.
I agree. No, I agree.
If you're taking like a stoic standpoint and you're like, well, none of this will matter, you know, the doing of the thing is what matters, and how you do it is probably.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It's not.
Yeah, and Bob and I have gone in circles on this for years. I think we've talked about this where people see what's popular on Instagram and then they mimic it, and they literally, to some points, like copy the style of someone who's really.
Yeah, but they burn out. They
absolutely burn out, but it's a really bad way to do it, because then forever no one can go, oh, that looks like it looks like an Ed Steed. They don't. They see it, and they see it as a simulation. And to me, the whole premise of the article that's coming out next week is switch off all of that shit. Don't look at what anyone else is doing. Especially don't look at what's popular or what the tastemakers are telling you what's popular, because eventually the tastemakers will go away. Then all you'll have left, all that's left standing, is what you can bring to the table, what you can do that no one else can do. That's the thing that you need to, even if it's not popular right now, it will maybe.
If you're in fashion, one day you're not going to be in fashion.
That's what the nature of fashion, the word is. So even if right now what you do isn't in fashion, stick with it, because fashion's coming.
Having said that, you should buy our book. You're not a real parent until, and it's in fashion right now.
Commercialism.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have concluded with a discussion of stoicism and humor. A transcript of this lecture will be available. Please. Thank you. That's all I got.
Yeah, you go on, because you could take it the next step, which is, could we as stand-ups organic
Bob, I'm trying to make you stop this.
change what people perceive as
No
funny?
stopping, Bob.
You change people's taste.
Yeah.
Can I just say this, Bob? You and I are going to do a bonus episode where you and I have this conversation, because I'm fascinated by this.
For the Patreon.
However, yeah, we'll do a Patreon or something. But I'm let's do
And
it.
it ends with Jello wrestling, which people want.
No.
Yeah.
We'll
discuss it while covering.
I was always going to finish with the wrong answer.
It's going to be a MOOC course. I think we should. Hey, Bob is connected with NYU. Come on, Bob. Get this together. Make
No,
it
you're
college
right.
credit.
You're right. I went down a whole rabbit hole, but I want to say thanks to our guests. There's a few things I want to mention. The book again is called You're Not a Real Parent Until. It's by Scott Dooley and Jason Chatfield. It's going to be coming out when is that, Jason? And
Tuesday. Tuesday 15th of June. It's you'renotareal.com is where you can find all the information on it.
Okay, great. And now, can you share any events coming up that people could come and meet you in person?
I mean, you know, we were just talking about this recently. In person, you can come to Picture This, which Marty comes to all the time because it's on his blog.
I love Picture This. I love it. What is it?
Great.
The next one.
What counts? There's two things Marty likes: comedy and not traveling. So this is.
I love it. If it's in Park Slope or Park Slope adjacent, you can count on me to probably go.
So July 8th at Union Hall in New York, you'll see me and Scott in Brooklyn and Marty. And hopefully, Bob and Michael, you have an open invitation. You're on the door with comedians and cartoonists on stage doing the same thing at the same time, where comedians are doing stand-up, comedians are looking at the animator off stage, hoping they don't screw them. The animators are drawing what they're talking about.
And
That
also,
sounds great.
and they have great artists. They have people like Jason. They have people who are, who's the guy from SNL who's not on SNL anymore?
Brian Brinkman.
who's become like the one of the hottest NFT personalities.
Yeah. What? I know. All right.
I know, right? I know, but he's like the guy that does this, but he started at the bottom and then it got popular, and he was just like, I'm so popular, it's insane. But he was like,
That's right. He is a big swinging dick in the NFT space, which is why I booked this show now. But I have to tell you, August 19th, I unfortunately won't be here. I'll be in Perth. But it's called the Animation Block Party. We do it every year.
You know, what our book, as opposed to a gig that neither of us are on.
No, I love the Animation Block Party.
You can buy the book on Animation Block Party. Mike, so if anyone likes BoJack Horseman or Tuca and Birdie on Netflix,
again, you're really going heavy on this as opposed to the book that you could buy.
Yeah, that's Mike Willingsworth is going to be doing Picture This in August. But if you want to see me and you're listening and you're on the West Coast at San Diego Comic-Con in July, I'll be there the entire time wanting to kill myself, but also selling the book and signing copies of the book at San Diego Comic-Con. So come by.
When is the San Diego Comic-Con?
It's from, I think, the 19th until the 22nd of July.
And that is the Comic-Con, right? That's the first. That's the worldwide. That's the biggie.
It's 214,000 people at a time.
So our publisher was like, "Hey, you guys should go to San Diego Comic-Con," and I said, "Why would we do that? Like, there's gonna be like Scarlett Johansson, like everyone's like Scarlett Johansson's here. No one's like, hey, these guys have got a book about parenting.
The Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is gonna be there. So when you guys,
and also some witty observations about having a kid.
Well, let me make it easier for people. All the details for all the events and where to get their book. The best way to do it is to go to Jason's very good Substack newsletter called New York Cartoons. And you can subscribe for free. He's got all the information there to find out when you can run into these gentlemen. Yep. And it's a very good newsletter, too. I recommend it. I also want to recommend an interview Marty did with Mike Reese, which is really great. Mike Reese is from The Simpsons. It's the latest episode of Talkwood. Highly recommend it. Very entertaining, as Marty always is. It was a really great job.
And Jason Chatfield illustrated a book that Mike Reese wrote recently. That was
exactly
very, very good book.
Marty, the name of the book again is
Santa's Brother Sandy Saves Christmas, which is a great book. And everyone should also go buy that.
As I like to call it, Marty Dundix saves Jason's bank account.
Yes. It's exploding.
So go look for the book. I want to also mention I'll be speaking at the annual Humor Conference on June 24th. It's a virtual conference. You could go to writersdigest.com to get information. And Writers Digest, the new issue, is where Jason will be talking about finding your voice. I already saw a sneak peek of it. Jason, you shared part of it with me, and it was very good.
Sneaky peek.
Yeah, it was very good. And I think I wanted to say a word about our friend Sam Gross, who passed away. I just want to say to people out there who knew Sam, I want to just pass on my condolences and say that that's great. Maybe we'll do another episode. I don't know if anybody wants to mention anything. I want to give you an opportunity to say anything, but Jason.
I mean, I'll be brief because you were very, very close to Sam, so I don't want to hold the mic on this. I consider him the end of an era. His passing, I find him the funniest. Boy, do I grimace at the word. No offense, Marty. I just mean
it's okay. It's only the name of my entire business.
I know. This is my I apologize in advance. I consider Sam Gross to be one of the funniest humans ever existed on this world. And he gave an approximate level 0 shits about what anyone thought. He knew what was funny, and he never.
Yeah,
and that was loved about him more than anything in the world.
So I agree totally. It's a little more complicated in this fact that he also had our back.
Yeah,
he also supported the cartoonists. He tried to make people aware of their rights and stuff. And I think in the way the torch has been passed to you because you are the president of the National Cartoonist Society. I also want to give this opportunity for you to announce the nominees here, so you could pass along the word, give people a little congratulations who deserved it. And
is that a huge list of nominees that Jason now has to read?
So no, but they usually have the opportunity to do so because we do. Anyone who listens to this likes cartoons, hopefully.
We just 4 people.
We just announced it yesterday. If you go to National Cartoonist, you'll see all of the nominees in every category that we just posted. And the Reuben nominees for the like Cartoonist of the Year, the big Oscar for like Best Actor, Best Actress, is going to be coming out in the next 2 weeks. So that's a big, big thing. And, you know, not for nothing, but the NCS is no longer just this big, you know, organization of guys wearing bow ties and tuxedos and handing out, you know, awards to each other in Connecticut with comic strips. It's a new organization that actually brings in people like gag cartoonists, God forbid, and people who do other things than comic strips. You know, Roz Chast won it in 2015. Linda Barry got the Milk Caniff. There are people who actually do different things than comic strips that are being recognized by the NCS, and I make no compunction about the fact that that's been my big driving mission, is to actually broaden the NCS from being a very closed shop to being very, nationalcartoonists.com. My 4-year tenure as president is up.
I have to say, Marty's waiting for an okay on his membership. It's been about 2 years.
He has a black belt.
No.
So I got invited to join. Jason invited me to join last year.
Marty.
And then I went into the website and I applied to join as a publisher, and I haven't heard back yet.
Marty, if you've got trouble, you can join my group, which is Nationalist Cartoonists.
Oh no!
We work for a lot of fringe media. And the president is Scott Adams.
That's on the record now.
All right. Oh boy.
Well, Jason, thank you for that. Michael, congratulations to you. You had a color cartoon in the new issue of the New York.
Oh.
Actually, the two of us have had 2 color cartoons in 2 weeks.
We are on fire.
Yell at it. You know, it's all downhill from here. Thank you for tolerating us for as long as you have.
It's been lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really appreciate your time. Thanks a lot, guys.
We've been looking forward to this one the whole time. You know how many podcasts we've had to do about this book? This is the only one we actually wanted to do.
It's been my dream to yell at the 3.
No, Scott, it's great chatting with you, and you have a good comic mind, but the whole nuts and bolts of it, too. So we're going to deep dive into that some other time.
No, I'd love to, Bob. I really would.
You two are thick as thieves, truly.
All right. Well, thanks. That's another episode of the Cartoon Pad. Everyone can put down their pencils. And good night.
Bye-bye.
Marty.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers. By the way, you're all on the door at the next picture. This, even you, Michael, you got to schlep up. But
I'm quite the schlepper.
Yeah, Jason, we'll promote the book online. I'll make sure I do some more posts on Facebook and stuff, especially the week before Father's Day. We'll get it go. I want to wish you guys luck. Did you guys have your meeting? Did you want to discuss Jay at all?
Yes.
Down the road. We're not recording, but down the road we could talk about it. I just want you to...